Welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be looking at Donald Trump.
Looking at Donald Trump.
And we've got some excerpts from his recent interview
Oh, cool.
on the Joe Rogan Experience.
Okay.
And just a quick bio to kind of set the stage.
Yes. So,
We're going to be unpacking his thoughts on
yeah.
everything from his time in the White House to his plans for a potential second term.
Oh, this is going to be good. I
That's
mean,
to be fascinating. So,
this is a gold mine, especially given Trump's kind of unconventional approach to politics and
right.
and his lasting impact on the political landscape.
Yeah, to kick things off,
Yeah.
Trump described his first moments in the White House as surreal.
Uh-huh.
He talks about driving down Pennsylvania Avenue, seeing his newly built hotel.
Oh, wow.
It's almost like stepping into a movie scene, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting how he blends these personal anecdotes with, these historical figures,
Right.
comparing his son Barron's height
Right.
to Abraham Lincoln's when talking about the Lincoln bedroom.
Right.
This is classic Trump, creating that personal connection
Yeah.
while also emphasizing his outsider status in Washington.
Yeah, he also paints a really vivid picture of the transition from
Yeah.
businessman to president, saying he suddenly had to appoint people to 10,000 positions.
Oh my gosh, 10,000.
10,000 positions.
That's incredible.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it's a staggering number
Yeah.
that highlights the sheer scale of government compared to, even the largest businesses.
Yeah.
He admits to relying on recommendations.
Right.
Which, kind of brings up the question,
Yeah.
how transferable are business skills
Right.
to the world of politics?
And he doesn't shy away from discussing both his successes and regrets
Yeah.
in those appointments.
Interesting.
He specifically mentions neocons. That's short for neoconservatives,
Okay.
a group known for their hawkish foreign policy views,
Right.
along with what he calls disloyal people
Interesting.
and those who gave him bad advice.
I wonder if he names names in the...
He does.
Oh, he does.
Yeah. He names quite a few names.
Wow. Interesting that he uses that term, neocons.
Yeah.
It suggests a degree of disillusionment with,
Yeah.
the traditional Republican establishment and
Right.
their approach to foreign policy.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Trump says his success comes from his willingness to freeball,
What does that mean?
meaning to improvise and speak his mind,
Oh, okay.
and how even controversial moments, amplified by media coverage,
Right.
actually boosted his popularity.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
This is a crucial point, I think, about
Yeah.
the evolving media landscape and
Yeah.
the perceived value of authenticity, right?
Right.
Trump's unfiltered communication challenged norms,
Right.
and it resonated with a segment of the population
Yeah.
who felt that traditional politicians were out of touch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay, let's move on to tariffs.
Okay.
Trump boasts about the impact of his tax cuts and deregulation,
Okay.
claiming they led to a booming economy.
Yeah.
He does acknowledge that tariffs increased the deficit,
Okay.
but then he suggests something really bold,
What's that?
replacing income tax
Whoa.
with tariffs. What do you make of that?
This is a controversial economic strategy, definitely, with very complex implications, right?
Yeah.
On the one hand, tariffs can protect domestic industries and
Yeah.
potentially generate revenue.
Right.
On the other hand, they can lead to increased costs for consumers, trade wars,
Right.
and global economic instability.
Right.
Replacing income tax entirely with tariffs would be, that would be a radical shift
Yeah.
with far-reaching consequences. It raises questions about fairness,
Right.
economic efficiency, and the
Yep.
overall impact on different income groups.
It definitely throws a wrench into conventional
Yeah,
economic thinking.
for sure.
Now let's get into some of his more controversial stances.
Okay.
He criticizes environmental regulations,
Uh-huh.
pointing to China's pollution as a counterpoint.
Okay.
He even suggests that better forest management,
Okay.
like raking leaves, is a solution to wildfires.
Raking leaves.
Raking leaves.
Okay, so this is where we see, Trump's tendency to
Yeah.
simplify complex issues
Right.
and offer solutions that appeal to common sense but may not be fully supported by scientific evidence.
Right.
His comments on forest management, for example, downplay the role of climate change
Right.
in contributing to the increasing intensity and frequency of wildfires.
And he doesn't stop there.
Okay.
He expresses skepticism about nuclear power for energy,
Yeah.
citing his uncle's warnings about its dangers.
Oh, interesting.
Is there more to that than just a personal anecdote?
Yeah, so his uncle, John Trump, was an MIT physicist
Okay.
who studied high-voltage radiation
Okay.
and may have cautioned him
Right.
about the potential risks of nuclear technology.
Okay.
So this kind of highlights
Yeah.
the influence of personal experiences and
Yeah.
familial perspectives on Trump's worldview.
Right. I mean, we all have our own
Yeah.
set of experiences that shape our worldview.
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
And then he goes on to criticize the Biden administration's handling of Afghanistan
Uh-huh.
and even claims he could have prevented the war in Ukraine
Wow.
through his relationship with Putin.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
These claims are, I mean,
Yeah.
highly debatable
Yeah.
and reflect Trump's tendency to present himself as
Yeah.
a strong man capable of
Right.
single-handedly resolving global conflicts,
And of course, he doubles down on his stance on immigration.
Yeah.
advocating for stricter border control measures,
Yeah.
and claiming other countries are emptying their prisons into the U.S.
I mean, this rhetoric, it's interesting,
Yeah.
it taps into deep-seated fears
Yeah.
and anxieties about national security and cultural change,
Right.
painting this picture
Right.
of the U.S. as vulnerable to
Oh, yeah.
exploitation by other countries.
Right. Right.
He also blames the media for biased coverage
Mhm.
and expresses distrust in polling,
Of course.
further cementing his outsider status
Yeah.
and fueling the us versus them narrative
Right. Right.
that has become central to his political identity.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that
Yeah.
these are Trump's perspectives, right?
Right.
And they often differ from mainstream narratives.
Yeah.
It's up to each of us to critically evaluate these claims,
Yes.
consider different viewpoints,
Right.
and form our own conclusions.
Now let's dive into one of the most contentious topics. Election fraud.
Trump doesn't hold back,
Yeah.
reiterating his claims of a rigged 2020 election.
Uh-huh.
He highlights alleged irregularities like legislative bypasses for voting procedures
Right.
and lack of access to ballots.
These allegations, though, have been,
Yeah.
widely disputed and investigated.
Yeah.
However, they
Mhm.
continue to fuel distrust
Yeah.
in the electoral process
Yeah.
among a segment of the population.
All right.
And it's important to understand the motivations
Oh, yeah.
and anxieties behind these beliefs.
Right.
You know?
And here's a curveball.
Okay.
Trump reveals he's considering Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, wow.
for a position in his potential administration,
Oh, okay.
focusing on health issues.
Interesting.
He even acknowledges potential pushback from Big Pharma.
This potential alliance is fascinating
Yeah.
because, RFK Jr. is
Yeah.
a controversial figure
Yeah.
known for his views on vaccines.
Right. And so,
And Trump acknowledging potential pushback from Big Pharma, the pharmaceutical industry, suggests he's aware of the
Right.
potential political ramifications of
Right.
such an appointment.
it's definitely a head scratcher. Mixing someone known
Hmm.
for
Yeah,
challenging conventional medical wisdom
right.
with a president who has often done the same
Exactly.
in the political arena.
Right.
Yeah.
It raises questions about how
Yeah.
their differing viewpoints would play out
Right.
in practice and
Yeah.
what impact it might have on public health policy.
This is already a lot to unpack.
I know.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
This is a lot.
It is.
But it's also, it emphasizes the importance of listening to
Yeah.
diverse voices, even those we may disagree with,
Right.
to gain a deeper understanding
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
complex issues facing our nation.
We'll be right back after a quick break
Okay.
to dive even deeper
Yeah.
into Trump's perspective on environmental issues, nuclear power, and more. Stay with us.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we're back, ready to kind of get into some more
Yeah.
specific issues that Trump tackled in his interview.
Right.
Let's start with his take on environmental regulations.
Okay.
He's been critical of them, claiming they stifle economic growth
Right.
and put the U.S. at a disadvantage globally.
Yeah, this is a pretty consistent theme, right? Trump's stance on
Yeah.
environmental regulations, it really reflects a broader philosophy that
Right.
prioritizes, economic growth and deregulation
Right.
over environmental protection.
Right.
He often frames it as a choice
Yeah.
between jobs and the environment, arguing that excessive regulations
Yeah.
burden businesses and hinder job creation.
He also brings up the issue of wildfires in California.
Right.
He suggested that forest management plays a bigger role than climate change,
Okay.
even mentioning raking leaves as a potential solution.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, again, a simplification of a complex issue.
Yeah.
While forest management practices can certainly influence the severity of wildfires,
Right.
climate change is a
Yeah.
significant contributing factor. Rising temperatures,
Yeah.
prolonged droughts,
Yeah.
and changes in weather patterns, they create conditions that make these wildfires more frequent and intense.
So he's essentially focusing on the immediate actions, clearing brush, rather than the longer-term, more systemic issue of climate change.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, because he often contrasts American environmental regulations with those of other countries, particularly China, arguing that, the U.S. is being held to a higher standard while other countries are polluting freely. It's like...
It's that America first mentality applied to environmental policy.
Exactly, yeah.
He's also critical of the high cost of water in California, suggesting that there's plenty of water available, but bureaucratic hurdles are preventing
its efficient use. And this taps into a common theme in Trump's rhetoric. Blaming government inefficiency and overreach for problems that often have more complex root causes.
Okay, let's move on to another energy-related topic. Nuclear power.
All right.
Trump expresses skepticism about its safety.
Yeah.
Even mentioning warnings from his uncle.
Right. We talked about that a little bit before.
Is there more to that than just a personal anecdote?
Yeah. I mean, his uncle, John Trump, was a, respected physicist who studied high voltage radiation. So he likely cautioned Trump about the potential dangers of nuclear technology.
Right. So this kind of underscores how personal experiences can shape a leader's views, even on complex scientific issues.
Right, because we often think of, these high-level decisions being made based purely on logic and data, but ultimately these are still human beings with their own sets of experiences that are informing their decisions.
And Trump also highlights concerns about nuclear proliferation. Arguing that wider adoption of nuclear power could lead to more countries acquiring nuclear weapons.
I mean, that's a legitimate concern, right? I mean, the spread of nuclear technology obviously raises the risk of nuclear materials falling into the wrong hands, potentially leading to nuclear terrorism or even an accidental nuclear conflict.
So it seems like he's not entirely against nuclear power. He acknowledges its potential as a clean energy source, but he's hesitant due to safety and security risks.
It's a nuanced position that reflects both the potential benefits and the risks associated with nuclear power.
All right, let's shift gears and delve back into one of the most talked about aspects of the interview. His claims about potential vulnerabilities in our electoral system.
Yeah, this is a topic that Trump repeatedly returns to. And it's clearly one that resonates deeply with him. He continues to express a strong belief that the 2020 election was rigged, even though these claims have been, widely disputed and investigated.
He points to issues like mail-in ballots, claiming they're susceptible to manipulation. And he expresses concerns about the security of voting machines.
I mean, these concerns, while often presented with, inflammatory rhetoric, they do tap into this broader conversation about election integrity that's happening across the political spectrum.
He emphasizes the importance of paper ballots, arguing they provide a more secure and verifiable record of votes. He even cites Elon Musk's support for paper ballots.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is where, interestingly, Trump finds common ground with some election security advocates who also emphasize
the importance of the paper trails for audits and recounts.
So it seems like he's pushing for a return to what he sees as a more traditional and secure voting system.
And this messaging likely resonates with those who share his concerns about election integrity, regardless of their political affiliation.
Now let's switch gears and talk about something that got a lot of attention. Trump's potential cabinet picks. His interest in appointing Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to a health-focused position really raised eyebrows.
Yeah, this was a surprising move. That sparked a lot of debate
Right.
Given RFK Jr.'s controversial views on vaccines.
Right.
And Trump even acknowledged that there would be pushback from Big Pharma, indicating he's aware of the potential political fallout of such an appointment.
It's an intriguing choice.
Yeah.
Because on the surface, their views seem so different.
Right.
Trump often aligns himself with traditional medical establishments.
Right.
While RFK Jr. has been critical of them.
Right. So it creates a lot of questions.
Right.
Will they find common ground?
Right.
Will their differing viewpoints lead to clashes?
Right.
How would such an appointment influence public health policy?
Yeah, it's definitely something to watch.
It's definitely something to watch.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears again, let's explore Trump's views on immigration.
All right.
This has been a central theme throughout his political career.
Yeah.
He reiterates his stance on the need for stricter border control measures.
Okay.
Arguing that the current administration's policies have led to an influx of criminals and undocumented immigrants.
Right.
He uses strong language, painting a picture of other countries emptying their prisons into the U.S., and he advocates for a stronger border wall, increased enforcement, and a crackdown on Sanctuary City.
I mean, this rhetoric taps into deep-seated fears and anxieties about national security and cultural change, portraying the U.S. as vulnerable and exploited by other countries.
He also connects illegal immigration to economic anxieties, arguing that it strains social services and takes jobs away from American citizens.
Yeah, and these claims often lack comprehensive statistical support and rely on anecdotal evidence. However, they do resonate with a segment of the population who feel that immigration is a threat to their economic well-being and their sense of national identity.
So it's a complex issue with both emotional and economic dimensions. And Trump's rhetoric taps into that.
Exactly.
Those feelings of fear and insecurity.
And it's important to understand the underlying anxieties that fuel these beliefs, even if the claims themselves lack factual basis.
Now, let's turn our attention to Trump's perspective on the media. He's been incredibly critical.
Of course.
Of mainstream media outlets. Accusing them of bias. And spreading fake news.
This is a theme that he returns to repeatedly. And it's really central to his us versus them narrative. He portrays the media as inherently hostile towards him and his supporters, distorting his words and actions to fit a negative narrative.
He points to instances where his statements have been taken out of context or misrepresented. And he criticizes the media's reliance on anonymous sources, arguing that it allows
for the spread of unsubstantiated rumors and accusations.
And this kind of taps into a broader distrust of institutions and authority figures.
Absolutely.
That's become prevalent in recent years. Fueling a sense that the public is being manipulated and misled by those in power.
And his attacks on the media often resonate with his supporters who share his distrust of mainstream narratives and his belief that he's being
unfairly targeted.
And it strengthens the bond between Trump and his base, creating a shared sense of grievance and a perception of being under attack from a hostile media establishment. Okay, now let's pivot to Trump's thoughts on foreign policy and international relations. He often emphasizes an America First approach, prioritizing American interests above global concerns.
And this has been a hallmark of his foreign policy, both in his rhetoric and his actions.
He's been critical of multilateral agreements and organizations, arguing that they often disadvantage the U.S. And limit its ability to act. Unilaterally, he prefers bilateral negotiations, believing they give America more leverage. And he expresses a willingness
to use military force when necessary.
Okay.
Although he also emphasizes the importance of strength as a deterrent. His foreign policy approach has been characterized by a mix of pragmatism and unpredictability.
Interesting.
He's shown a willingness to engage with adversaries like North Korea and Russia while also escalating tensions.
With traditional allies.
So
it's kind of a departure from, the traditional kind of diplomacy of past presidents.
It's a foreign policy that's often seen as transactional and driven by a desire to secure immediate wins for America, regardless of the potential long-term consequences.
Right. And it's a significant departure from, the more traditional multilateral approach that has dominated American foreign policy.
Right. Decades.
Let's move on now to Trump's views on the economy.
Right.
He often boasts about his economic accomplishments during his presidency, pointing to low unemployment rates and a strong stock market.
And he attributes this success to his tax cuts and deregulation policies, arguing that they unleashed American businesses and spurred economic growth.
He's a strong believer in free markets and limited government intervention in the economy.
So his economic philosophy really aligns with, traditional conservative principles of lowering taxes, reducing regulations, and allowing the private sector to drive growth.
And he often draws upon his own experience as a businessman to support his views, portraying himself as the successful entrepreneur who understands how to
create jobs and wealth.
And this approach resonates with those who believe that government interference stifles innovation and entrepreneurship, and who see Trump's business background as evidence of his economic competence.
Okay, now let's delve into Trump's views on social and cultural issues.
Okay.
He often positions himself as a defender of traditional values, appealing to those who feel that those values are under attack.
Right, and this has been a key part of his appeal to a segment of the population who feel that America is losing its moral compass and its sense of identity.
He's critical of what he sees as excessive political correctness and the erosion of free speech, arguing that people are afraid to express their opinions for fear of being labeled intolerant or bigoted.
And this rhetoric resonates with those who feel silenced or marginalized by what they perceive as, this dominant liberal culture that's intolerant of their views.
He often uses inflammatory language and makes generalizations about entire groups of people, which fuels cultural divisions and deepens
political polarization.
Right.
And I mean, his approach to social and cultural issues is often seen as divisive and inflammatory. However, it's important to recognize that it taps into real anxieties and concerns held by a significant portion of the population.
All right, let's explore Trump's perspective on healthcare. This is an area where he's proposed significant changes, though he's often been vague on the specifics.
He's repeatedly promised to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. But he's yet to present
a comprehensive alternative plan. He criticizes the ACA for its high costs and complex regulations, arguing that it's a burden on businesses and individuals.
So his healthcare vision really aligns with conservative principles of individual responsibility and free market solutions.
He advocates for a more market-based approach, emphasizing choice and competition. And he believes that allowing insurance companies to sell plans across state lines and increasing price transparency will drive down costs.
And this approach appeals to those who believe that government involvement in healthcare has been inefficient and costly. And who favor a system that gives individuals more control over their healthcare decisions.
However, critics argue that his proposals would leave many Americans, particularly those with pre-existing conditions, without adequate coverage.
And so this highlights a key tension in healthcare policy, that balance between individual choice and affordability and the role of government. in ensuring access to care for all citizens.
Okay, now let's wrap up this part of our deep dive by examining the potential implications of a second Trump presidency.
Right.
It's clear that he would bring a unique set of experiences, beliefs, and strategies to the White House.
Absolutely. His unconventional approach to politics, his willingness to challenge norms, and his focus on America First policies would have profound impacts on domestic and international affairs.
His rhetoric on social and cultural issues could further exacerbate divisions within American society. While his economic policies would likely prioritize deregulation, tax cuts.
And his healthcare plans would reshape the
healthcare landscape.
Impacting access, care, and affordability for millions.
It's impossible to predict with certainty what a second Trump presidency would look like. But it would undoubtedly be a consequential period in American history.
And as we move closer to the 2024 election, it's crucial to engage in thoughtful discussions. Consider multiple viewpoints.
And make informed decisions based on facts and evidence.
Facts and evidence, exactly.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
After a short break.
All right.
To delve into the broader implications of Trump's potential return to power. And what it means for the future of American politics.
All right.
Stay with us.
Sounds good.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive into the mind of Donald Trump. We've covered a lot of ground, from his personal reflections to his stances on major issues. But what does it all mean? What are the potential implications of a second Trump term?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And as we've seen, Trump is a complex figure who defies easy prediction. But we can look at patterns, at his stated goals, and at how his first term played out to get some clues.
He's made it clear that he sees his first term as unfinished business. He wants to further his America First agenda, which, as we've discussed, has major implications for everything from trade to foreign policy to immigration.
Exactly. And that agenda is built on a few core pillars. Economic nationalism, a skepticism of global institutions, and a focus on what he sees as restoring American strength on the world stage.
He's also been vocal about his desire to reshape the judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court. He's already appointed 3 conservative justices during his first term, and a second term could give him the opportunity to further solidify a conservative majority on the court.
For decades to come. Potentially.
And that would have a profound impact.
It would.
On American law and society, potentially affecting everything from abortion rights to gun control to environmental regulations.
And then there's the question of how a second Trump term would impact the political and social fabric of the country.
We've seen how his rhetoric has exacerbated divisions. And it's hard to imagine those divisions magically healing if he's back in the White House.
That's a real concern. Trump's presidency has been marked by a level of polarization and animosity that we haven't seen in recent history. And his return could further inflame those tensions, making it even more difficult to find common ground and address the challenges facing the nation.
So it seems like a second Trump presidency would be anything but boring.
It would be a wild ride.
It would likely be a turbulent time. With significant implications.
Huge.
For both the U.S. and the world.
Absolutely. And it's important to remember that the presidency is not a one-man show. The actions of Congress, the courts, and even individual citizens all play a role in shaping the direction of the country.
That's a good point. Ultimately, the future of the U.S. is in the hands of its people.
It is.
The 2024 election will be a pivotal moment.
It's a pivotal moment.
And it's up to each individual to decide what kind of future they want to create.
And this deep dive has been an attempt to equip you with the knowledge and insights you need to make that decision.
We've explored Trump's worldview,
Yeah.
His policies, his strengths.
To say strengths and weaknesses.
And his weaknesses.
Yeah.
We've examined his impact on American politics and society.
Right.
And we've considered the potential implications of his return to power.
Now it's up to you to process this information, to engage in thoughtful discussions, and to make informed choices.
The future is unwritten.
It is.
But we have the power to shape it.
We do.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
On The Deep Dive.